Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? I want to talk about Ray Daniels, and I specifically want to make reference to he did a interview. Well, before I even say that, he was on a podcast, right? In this podcast, I think it's called the Butternomics podcast episode, the blueprint for building influence with Ray Daniels. Now, in that podcast, he speaks about how his friends considered him, or he was called the fake ass Irv Gotti, just in a, just metaphorically. It was a metaphoric comparisons rather than a direct comparison, saying that when he was coming up, people thought that that's how he was. People looked at him and saw him following the blueprint of Irv Gotti. Now, I think about that podcast and then I bring it back to now, where he's taking shots at Ashanti, saying that, she just was not as bomb or as amazing. You know what? I'm not even going to paraphrase him. I'm going to let you guys hear what he had to say about Ashanti.
Ashanti is the biggest fake out in R&B music history. Ashanti was a cheat code. That's all she was. And by the way, I'm not saying Ashanti was whack or anything. I'm just saying Irv cheated the game for her. Let me tell you what I mean. Look at everybody from that era. They could dance. They could sing their ass up. You could say, I don't like Beyonce's song, but you can't say when she gets on stage, she doesn't kill it. You can say, I don't like Chris Brown and Usher music, but they get on stage and kill it. Ashanti doesn't kill it on stage. She just sings. She's a pretty girl that sings great songs. But the songs are all remixed. Her first single is what? A Biggie remix. She comes with baby, baby, baby. And then guess what that was? That was Scarface. Mary, Mary. When she did the one Rain on Me, that's the Jay-Z Can I Live beat. Ashanti first in 5 or 6 singles was all remakes of Men records.
Now, he mentioned Destiny Child in a way, because Beyonce was a part of the group Destiny Child before she went solo, right? So if we're talking about Destiny Child, the first song that they have from their debut single was No, 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 right? Y'all remember that song? You be saying no, 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 no. Remember that? Okay, that was the first song that Destiny Child released, right? Now, when he talks about Ashanti, he talks about her songs being remixes. What he's making reference to is reference tracks. Like every song that has been created has a reference track, has a song to which they reference to get their sound developed. The producer uses a certain sound to come up with that song, right? So the first song, No, No, No by Destiny Child, they sampled R. Kelly 1994 track Stroke You Up by changing faces, right? So by his definition, him saying using somebody else's song, it would be a remix. That No, 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 No by Destiny Child, they sampled R. Kelly. So that song would be a remix from the R. Kelly original song. Let me continue by going to Beyonce's debut album, or her first album. So from like 2002 to 2003, Destiny Child went on a hiatus to allow members to pursue solo projects, right? So I'll say June 24, 2003, Beyonce released her debut solo album, Dangerously in Love, and it included hits like Crazy in Love and Baby Boy, and those were like major successes, right? Now, her first single from her debut solo album, Dangerously in Love, was Crazy in Love featuring Jay-Z, right? Now that came out May 18, 2003. So the thing about that is it was actually the song that it sampled was Are You My Woman? Tell Me So by the Chat Lights. So that song sampled another song. So if we're talking about songs that have used old tracks, because he's saying it's all sampled by known, male rappers, which is true, but those are the songs that it samples. Every major hip hop R&B song sampled some song. So respectfully, it is unfair for him to take shots at Ashanti and try to discredit her as a R&B artist or discredit her talent because of that. Like to say that, because she samples music, like a lot of other artists did at that time, it's called sampling tracks, her talent is less, amazing or less wonderful. First and foremost, when Beyonce started off singing, Beyonce was not going like belting or high singing in the manner in which she grew to, like when Beyonce started singing, she was, not going crazy on the tracks. If I'm being honest with you, she was singing and she had a beautiful voice. Beyonce grew her vocal strength, I would say over time. She always could sing. I'm not going to take that away from her, but the manner in which she sings now. She grew into that. She had to grow into a beautiful singing butterfly. And it took time. It took hard work. It took vocal training. It took time. So I don't want to discredit Ashanti because Ashanti was singing back then the way all the girls were singing back then. So to try to say that she wasn't or as talented as the next person is absolutely ludicrous. And I think that people forsake or they try to put things aside. I want to just bring and highlight this, that when people sing, people sing differently, and not everybody can make a song sound good. Somebody can write a song and three different people sing it, and it not sound as good as somebody else singing, or somebody else. Ashanti writes her music, but not even that. Her melodies, her vocal, her what I'm saying, the things that she puts on the track to make it, just amazing, or just make it singable, or make it just sound good to you, I think is very unique to her. And I think that everybody has their own sound, everybody has their own voice, everybody has their own thing. You should not discredit her at all because she has references. I feel like he's being very ignorant in that standpoint. And I think that those guys, and when I say those guys, I mean a certain record label type of guys that come from the business, and they respect Irv or respect what Irv has done, and they see that Ashanti does not go above and beyond to highlight Irv because of what he's done to her privately, whether there was a relationship or not a relationship or whatever that existed between those two. People feel some type of way because they feel as though the male ego is a very fragile thing. So if Ashanti is not saying, I love Irv and yes, we dated, and validating him, because I think that Irv genius is being cut or being taken away from him because of his relationship with Ashanti. People are not acknowledging the work or the work ethic or the things that he put into music because of his relationship with Ashanti, because then we start having predatory conversations to say, oh my God, he was a predator, or oh my God, he wasn't the best, person to her, or whatever. And that a lot of the time excuses, the talent that he found in her, the work that he did with her because of his predatory behavior. But the thing is, Ashanti never highlighted the predatory behavior he did. So now that people are focusing on something that he spoke about when they were, talking about Murder Inc. and doing that documentary, he brought up his personal relationship with Ashanti. Ashanti has always, downsided that, or not shown too much attention to that, or not try to highlight that. She would much rather focus on the music. She would much rather focus on how they connected musically rather than her personal relationship, because it doesn't make neither one of them look good. Irv keeps talking about the relationship, and these males in the hip hop industry, these males in the rap industry, these males who, have that feeling about women. I don't know, the women are not this, or women are not that, or women are always trying to get a man caught up. They've had traumatizing experiences with women, and they're in the business. And a lot of the time, it's very hard to be in a business where it's a male dominated business. They're looking at Ashanti because you are not validating something that he brought forth, and you are not helping to highlight what he did to music, and they're his friends or his peers. They're looking at her as, no, you're trash, and we're going to do whatever to discredit you. Another thing, I think the reason why I feel this way is because I seen previously an interview with Irv Gotti's brother, where he's never ever really spoke on Ashanti and Irv's relationship personally, not that I've seen, but he's taken this time that Irv has passed to say, I'm going to take it on because, people are using this to discredit my brother, and I'm going to step forward and say, hey, there was a relationship and there was something there. And Ashanti said that there could not have been a relationship between them two because he was married. And I think that in that stance, in my humble opinion, she's stepping forward and respecting his wife and acknowledging that he was a married man. This was a married man. Whatever that took place between us is minute. It doesn't even matter because he is a married man. I want to be married. I want someone to make me a wife. So I'm not going to highlight this relationship or make this relationship of more importance than the one that he had with his wife. And you all are feeling some type of way because Irv is completely ignoring the fact that he was married to say, hey, I had a romantic relationship with Ashanti, and I would like to speak on that. Where Ashanti saying, ignore all that, let's focus on the music. And these men are feeling some type of way because Irv messed up his own legacy by trying to highlight a sexual or romantic relationship that he had Ashanti that was unneeded. We did not need to know that.
Like I told her with Ashanti, that's forever. You can't know. She says they wasn't in a relationship. They was in a relationship. I was their therapist going from That's how he be with my relationships.
You know what I'm saying? Like when she say that, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You know, I used to go and get you, talk to you, then go and tell Irv what she said, then go and tell you what Irv said. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But at the end of the day, that's what makes what went on with them so real. And I would tell everyone, again, I would tell everyone, like, in a relationship, let me go talk to your exes. How many can I talk to that's gonna talk anywhere near calmly as she did for him? And then Irv kept going too far. Constantly. But like he said, there was an interviewer that said, why do you always talk about Ashanti? He said, bitch, because you always ask. Right. And Irv is a straight shooter. He's not going to fucking hide. He's like, that's why I talk about it, because everyone keeps talking about it.
What you want him to do?
And that's real. And it's like, you know, she should understand that too. Like, if you're in the limelight, they asked the question. It wasn't little, it was big. You know? And again, but it's for her to act like it ain't Murder Inc. that made her, is a or Irv made her. It's crazy.
Right.
She had 3 deals before him.
That ain't working.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, something with y'all chemistry worked out. Respect it. That's all. I'm not saying you have to talk about the nigga, but respect the magic that was made. That's all I said. See, I'm always in the middle. Irv hate when I take her position, and you know what I'm saying? But I never took Irv's position with her.
Right.
But I'm doing it because he ain't here now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to let no one talk about my brother. You're going to have a problem.
Right.
Simple and plain. In that, especially someone who he made that career. Like, I was there. Like, he made you sing records the way you sang them. Because you would have never sang it that way if it was up to you. You know, Steve Jobs and Bill Wozniak. Steve Wozniak. Do you know who Wozniak is? Steve Wozniak? He's the guy that built. He's his tech guy.
Okay.
And I only bring this up because it relates. It's all the same. And he said, Steve Jobs used to always beef with him because Wozniak said, I built the code for Apple. I wrote it. So, and Steve Jobs would say, yeah, but you're a great coder. But if I left it up to you, you make it like every fucking other idiot great coder. It's Apple because I told you what to do. You understand? That's Irv's magic. No matter what. That's his legacy.
Sing it like this. Sing it like that.
Because don't do that.
Do that.
Don't do it. He's a real producer. So I've been in rooms where these other producers, they not real producers. They beat makers and literally you get on their beat. No, he really produced you. Anyone that worked with him on any capacity of a real capacity where it wasn't just getting some money because you're paying $250,000. That's how big I took it. From 5,000, I took it to 250 a track.
And he is, like the rest of them, hurt, and they feel some type of way because Ashanti's not, you know, highlighting the romantic relationship. First and foremost, Ashanti's never ever, and I've never ever heard her say that, you know, there was not magic with Murder Inc. or they didn't come together or nothing. What she's saying is that he's using his influence and using the work that they did together to try to minimize her or try to make it seem as though she didn't have star power, period. You know, she had star power and she had what it took. You saw talent within her and you did a production. You were a producer. You produced the tracks. But let's not act like it wasn't a combined effort is what Ashanti's saying. And don't use the work that you've done with me to try to manipulate me. Because Ashanti said that there were people that said to her that they wanted to do music with her, wanted to do tracks with her. And Irv used the fact that he, you know, had influence on her music and helped her and created the sound of the time and, you know, worked along with Ashanti to manipulate her because she was so young. She just felt like, why these guys hate me? You know, why do they feel a certain type of way about me? Why do they not like me? What, you know, why they don't want to work with me? What's wrong with me? And based off of what you were saying to her, you manipulated the situation. You had the upper hand. You had the upper power. You know, you had that. So because you had that, you used that to manipulate her, to make her feel as though she was less than, make her feel as though, you know, that like, I made you, you know what I'm saying? These MFers wouldn't want to do tracks. He let his male ego, you know, oversee the work that God put in them to do as a team. Point blank period. Point blank period. You know? And that's when it becomes a problem. It's because you have your personal connection with me or relationship with me, you are now trying to manipulate me not to work with your ops or work with people that you have a problem with or use me as you see fit. I'm going to put you here and this is where I want you and I'm going to put you. And the reason why it becomes so scandalous and so messed up is the fact that there was a romantic relationship. If Ashanti was just your artist, if Ashanti was just your sound or whatever, would you have been giving her that glow that you were, you know, giving her? her. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you guys were romantically involved, maybe it did spark something up in you to work a little harder. But because it was a romantic situation, it made you be selfish and not want her to work with certain artists or want her around certain males because you knew maybe from the background how they operated, because of your personal ties with her. And that's where it makes it complicated, because it's like, you know what I'm saying? You would not admit, but you were somehow moving out of spite. And it's unfortunate because you were married. You were a whole married man. You are a married man, and cheating on your wife and discounting your wife over and over again, going against your wife and your wife that you had children with, and having this side relationship with Ashanti and wanting to equally so manipulate and use her, because you gave her sound, because you done certain things for her, because, and Murder Inc. was a era. Murder Inc. was a time. Murder Inc. was a feeling. Murder Inc. was a powerhouse. Back in the day, Murder Inc. was, ooh. You know what I'm saying? Irv was on the top of the game, top of the business. He was that man, he was. But he definitely used that to manipulate Ashanti. He did. And Ashanti's not trying to add light to that. She so much so because I feel like if she really gave it the attention that it was needed and really spoke about how this man made her feel, it would tarnish his reputation immensely. Take away all the shine that, I'm saying, that he's been getting, point blank period, because the way these women have been going around and speaking about the abuse that they have endured under the arms of these powerful men in hip hop, has been a common thing. If Ashanti took, especially with her name power, especially being who she is, if she took that stance on it and made it yucky, y'all wouldn't even feel comfortable speaking about it. Y'all wouldn't even feel right speak. If she came out, like, no disrespect, a Cassie, and said, hey, the business, I had to, had a sexual relationship, or I had to mess around with this man, and I was this and I was that, y'all would be disturbed. Y'all wouldn't even be able to speak about it, because y'all would be like, nah, I don't even want to touch that, because, man, that's a Me Too right about ready to happen. Y'all would know. But Ashanti's being light about it. But that light is causing so much people to disrespect the pain that she went through. Yes, it was talent being created. Yes, they made magic together. But the upside is he was in a position of power. He was in a position, he had her career in his hands. And that's the conversations that these males don't want to have. Yes, he helped her with her sound. Yes, they worked. It was a team effort. Murder Inc., Ashanti, Ja Rule, y'all made magic. But the flip side of that is abuse did occur. The flip side of that is he was in a position of power. The flip side of that, he did hold her back. The flip side of that, it's all reality. It's all facts. It seems like y'all want her to acknowledge that without really acknowledging it. Because if she gave it the attention that it needed, y'all would not like her. Y'all would not, because she can't be honest with herself and her truth and, accept that, hey, this hurt me or this made me feel a certain type of way. And I felt, she can't speak on it fully without in one way or another angering y'all or making y'all feel some type of way. So she rather not speak about it at all. And even that y'all viewing as is disrespectful. She has to acknowledge the relationship. And I feel as though that's where this man comes from. The Ray Daniels of it all. Ray Daniels does not like women. Point blank period. And I don't mean romantically. I feel like he's attracted to women. He might even have a wife, child. You know what I'm saying? But I feel as though every time we start having these conversations, he feels a way when the woman side is being, shined a light on, and when the woman side is being recognized, and when the woman side is being acknowledged, he feels some type of way. I just seen him going off on, I believe his name is Mark Anthony. Tell me if I'm wrong, but his name is Mark, child. And he's on the Joe Budden show. And the Joe Budden show is becoming very narcissistic, Even though Melissa's on it, is becoming very narcissistic in how they handle women issues. And Mark is one of the guys I feel as though to offset that narcissism, But they go so hard on him and they're so upset with him because they feel as though he speaks up for women. And they can't stand that. The narcissist in them, it bothers their spirit. They can't take it. So I previously seen him take shots at, not real shots, but get handsy or in his feelings with Mark because he felt as though, you're always taking the woman's side. I'm gonna show you guys.
You got that very expensive chain on. And if you were to walk through a really terrible neighborhood at 3 a.m. unarmed by yourself with that chain on, you might get robbed. I know not to do it. Right? But when you get robbed, yeah, I would say to you, you made some bad choices. But that doesn't negate the fact that the person who you should be able to do that. But Mark, you actually helping. I've been quiet, but you actually helping the other side. You don't even see it. I agree with that. You're really helping the other side because what I know I shouldn't be out in the hood at 3 in the morning with my chains on.
But why? Because there's predators there.
But here's the problem. No, but here's the problem. Here's the real issue. The real issue is how.
No, but don't lose that point.
Okay,
right?
no, I'm about to tell you. I'm about to answer that.
Yeah.
The way men see the world and the way women see the world, right? So the way men see the world, if you're my woman, I'm gonna be like, yo, babe, don't wear that because I know how men are. Now you'll say that's not how men's supposed to be. They shouldn't be that way. But men are smart enough to know that that's not the way the world works. Just because you wear, yeah, I should be able to wear my chain everywhere, but I'm smart enough to know where the wolves are. Right, so my thing is when you lay with wolves, you almost gotta know you laying with a wolf. What I'm saying is that everybody's not all, one side is not all guilty and one side is not all innocent. And I'm like a fan of yours when you came out. But the thing I like the most about you, I went to talk to you because I'm like, this nigga always takes the women's side. Like
Mark,
damn, like can a man like Mark? I love Mark, but I'm like he always takes the woman's side.
It's some
And
tight ass hoodies.
And listen, if he's a man and he says he's a trans man, she's gonna take his side even more because it's a woman. You take that, and I'm just like Mark. We are black men are being attacked, and you are one of the biggest voices out here. And what I'm saying is that if you don't give a voice a reason, one of the smart ones, I'm gonna look at it as an ignorant nigga, but you're a smart one. So if you don't give reason, nigga. You just allowing them to railroad as many of our black men.
When have I ever said
no, Mark, you always down with a woman. I'm with her. That's why I knew you was. That's why we brought it up. I'm like, I can't wait to hear what Mark on.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. But have you ever seen me take an unreasonable position on an issue between men and women?
I'm a fan of yours.
Yeah, I don't think.
But it feels like it's always if a man did it, he's the piece of shit.
You feel like that's what happened in this conversation today?
No, not right now. But I wanted to get your thoughts. That's why I brought it up.
Because right now you're not watching the clip. You're watching the whole conversation. A lot of times it's nuanced.
Yeah, for sure.
And
No, that's true.
When you hear the whole conversation.
But that's why I wanted to get your opinion on it. But at the same time, I'm telling you, as brilliant as you are, at some point in time, as black men, because you gotta look at, listen. So when you just like, yeah, he did it, they're like, well, the educated man is saying he did it. We can all say, when you should say, let's go through the due process. I love Haley, I love DDG, but I always look at who's connected to who because they were young and in love. Right. Somebody was in the house like, this how we gonna handle this. Right. DDG is a little nigga that just wants to fucking stream. That's all he wants to do is stream and rap. Yeah. I don't know what she is. And by the way, if you follow DDG, he talks about music, streaming, and his child.
And his kids.
And that's all he cares about.
That lady.
So and another thing.
Remember, I
didn't say that he couldn't have done those things.
No, that's my point. I'm not saying that at all. I don't want to say that.
And I didn't say he didn't. I mean, he did, right? Well, I began by saying, this is why I begin from presumption that anybody, male or female, man or woman, I begin from, if you say that you were abused, I begin from a premise of believing you, but also investigating so we can find out. I don't think we should ever not investigate.
Thank you for that,
I don't think we should ever say just because you said it is true, but historically, when it comes to sexual assault in particular, if a woman said it, we begin from presumption of, prove you're not lying.
Exactly.
As opposed to, where's the evidence?
When I tell you, it literally irritated him. Irritated his skin, just irritated the mess out of him, just the mindset or the thought that, oh my goodness, like there's another man here, a full man challenging these male talking points, and he's going against what I feel as a man, but he's for women. It just irritated him. So I don't feel as though he really likes women, so much so, in my humble opinion, and I just don't feel like that. So when we talk about this conversation and we talk about his opinions about Ashanti, from the beginning, he's been saying that people always considered him a fake ass Irv Gotti, in the podcast. So he's always had some sort of feeling like, okay. And when they said these things to him, he was like, oh, well, at least I know I'm on the right path. I'm going somewhere, that was flattering to him. He liked that, to be considered or be compared to that guy. So if this is a guy that he's compared to, of course, any woman or anybody that's coming against this guy or, saying anything remotely like, ooh, about this guy, he's going to, stand for this man. He's always stood for Irv Gotti, and that's what that's about. It's not about Ashanti and her talent. I don't even want people to go up in arms about it or even give it that attention. I wouldn't even give it that attention because that's not where he's coming from. He's on some hater shit, point blank period. That's some hater shit. First and foremost, Ashanti writes her music and everybody doesn't sing like Beyonce. That's why everybody ain't Beyonce, period. And from the beginning of time, they have women that are Diana Ross, and they got women that are Aretha Franklin. They got different type of talent. Everybody has room, and to say that because this person isn't singing like this person, their talent level is different. No, especially when someone grew their talent. They took the vocal training, took the time to really build on their talent. I'm not saying Ashanti didn't, but Ashanti probably did as well. Everybody just has different abilities. And I'm not going to put Ashanti against Beyonce because they're two different artists. I think it's disrespectful to both women to put them up against each other. Why can't women shine individually? I hate the idea that there can only be one and one has to be better than the other. No, not at all. Not at all. I feel like everybody has room to grow, room to shine. That lady, the one who sings loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful, she's not put up against these other artists and should not be. Everybody has their own abilities just respect what people can do on their own. But he's not coming from that. He's just low-key hating. He don't like this woman, so he's taking, the time to hate off of her whenever he sees fit. And he's gaining, like a lot of these males with mics, he's gaining notoriety, gaining fame, gaining recognition off of black women's backs. He's most recently, I've heard him talking about Young Miami and how, she is the reason why Cassie is speaking despite all the stuff that, she's been through with Diddy. Young Miami is the reason why Cassie's speaking up and saying the things that she's saying and all of that. That's his opinion of it. So he's building, and I'm gonna speak on that in a different video, but he's building his career off of black women back. No different from Kevin Samuels, no different from these guys with these, talking points that go against the woman. So I'm not, oh well, I'm not phased by him. It's like, okay, I see where this is coming from and I see where this is going. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I love you guys. Bye.